Went back to New York. You know, we'd been on the road for 3 years. That was 245,000 kilometers. It was 116 countries.
시청자 여러분 안녕하십니까? 우리는 요즘 불확실성이라는 말을 참 많이 하게 됩니다. 트럼프 대통령 취임 이후 나타난 시장의 초조함은 관세 외교라는 방법론 앞에서 불확실성으로 바뀌었고요. 우리 증시는 헌정사상 두 번째 대통령 탄핵이라는 무거운 짐을 떠안게 됐습니다. 자, 이렇게 예측 불가한 시장 상황 속에서 나만의 투자 방향성을 찾는 것이 가장 중요할 텐데요. 자, 오늘 저희는 세계적인 투자의 거장 짐 로저스 회장과 함께 그 답을 찾아보겠습니다. 그는 지금의 이 혼돈의 시장에서 어떤 길을 제시할까요? 지금 바로 만나보겠습니다. Good morning, Mr. Rogers.
Good morning.
안녕하세요. Thank you for joining us today here in Dealside Television. Also, a great honor to have you. Would you please say hello to Korean investors?
It is my honor to be speaking with Korean investors. Good morning, Korean investors. Good afternoon, Korean investors.
Before I giving you a question, I'd like to ask you something about U.S. stock market. How would you diagnose the current state of the U.S. stock market so far? What situation do you think it's in?
Well, I sold all of my U.S. stocks a couple of months ago because it's been the longest period in American history without a stock market problem. So I suspect the problem is coming and it's going to be serious because it's been a very long time with no problem. So I'm worried about the U.S. stock market. I own no American shares.
Okay. The U.S. stock market has been so very shaky. What do you see as the biggest risk of a slump? Maybe something like the trade policies or worries about the slowdown?
Well, I guess the biggest risk I see is Donald Trump, the president, because he says he's going to have a trade war, and I know that trade wars have never been good for anybody. Trade wars have always been bad. He doesn't seem to think so. He thinks a trade war will be good. I think it will be bad.
You've been predicting so many problems with the U.S. stock market. The trading war is also been included.
Well, trade wars have never been good for anybody. People have been trying them throughout history, but they've never been good for anybody.
Yeah, recent tariff announcement by Trump causing huge drop in S&P 500. After that, it raised concern about inflation and global trade. What is your opinion on Trump tariff war and its potential economic effect?
If Mr. Trump does what he says he's going to do, it's going to be bad for the U.S. economy. It's going to be bad for the world economy. And it's going to be bad for the world stock markets.
Thank you. And how do you see the President Trump's recent actions and the statements, including executive orders? What is your view how they are shaking up the market?
As far as I can see, what Mr. Trump is doing is bad. Bad for the world economy, it's bad for the U.S. economy, and bad for the U.S. stock market. Things are going to get worse if he does what he says. The trade war, if you ask me, it's the worst thing because nobody wins a trade war. Maybe somebody does well for a few days or a few weeks, but trade wars have always been bad for everybody.
And also, with inflation still a concern at the economy slowing down, like inflation is at 2.8% in February in U.S. Do you think the rising inflation is something we cannot avoid in the future?
I know that we have inflation and we're going to have more inflation. Money printing has always led to inflation. The central bank in America has printed a lot of money. So I know inflation is going to continue and get worse.
Continue and worse. That sounds bad. So given the ups and downs that we are seeing in the market recently, do you think the U.S. economy has any possibility of being eventually into a recession or stagflation?
I know we're going to have a recession in the U.S. As I say, it's been the longest in American history without a recession. We're overdue for a recession. We're going to have a recession. But I know we're having a recession, and I know it's going to be bad because it's been so long without a recession.
Okay. What are the key signs of an economic crisis that we should closely monitor considering the current market situation?
Well, you should monitor prices because prices are going to be going higher in the American economy, and inflation's going to get worse. And that's going to be bad for the stock market.
And also, what is your view on valuation of U.S. stock market right now, considering an S&P 500 and NASDAQ experiencing massive fluctuations?
Well, the U.S. stock market is at an all-time high, or was at an all-time high. So it has to be over. It's high. It's a very high price, the American stock market. In my view, it's overvalued, and in my view, it's going to go down more.
That is the reason for your selling all of the U.S. stock?
Yes, that's why I sold everything. The U.S. stock market was on an all-time high. Inflation's coming back. We're going to have more inflation because they printed a huge amount of money. I don't like any of this, but I'm just telling you, my view of the facts are inflation is here and stocks are too high. So I sold.
Yeah, you've been talking a lot of time about, bubbles. Now we're going to do about bubbles. There's a lot of talk about whether we are doing excessive AI investment. What do you think about those concerns, especially with the tech stock in the spotlight?
Well, whenever we have a big bull market, some stocks do very well, and at the moment it is the Magnificent Seven, as you call them. Those are the stocks that are the most popular. They get very expensive, and then it's time to sell them, if you ask me. That's why I sold out. We have a bubble again in a few stocks, but this has happened many times in history all over the world. It's not just the U.S. I mean, it's happened in every market.
Do you think that we are in a cycle of declining?
A cycle of decline? I do think, yes, I know we're in a cycle of decline. The American stock market is going to be bad for a while.
What about Tesla? Tesla stock is down by more than 30% this year as of the early April, with concerns about AI-driven growth and delivery misses recently. Do you think the expectations for the Tesla for the future value and investment in it are rational decision or under the Tesla's blueprint?
As far as I do not own Tesla, I told you I would not buy Tesla. Every stock market cycle has some stocks that get very, very expensive, get very popular. Tesla is one of those stocks now. I expect Tesla to go down a lot.
Why do you think the Magnificent Seven and the Tesla stock is so very popular?
You have to talk about human psychology. In every stock market cycle, there are a few stocks that get extremely popular. Everybody talks about them, and that makes them more and more popular and makes them more and more expensive, and you should get out, always. This has happened every time we've had a bull market all over the world.
Do you think its a decision is so somewhat rational or some psychic?
Whenever this happens, everybody thinks it's rational. They give you many reasons why it should happen, but it's always, in the end, they go down a lot and people realize it was not rational.
The next question is about the U.S. and China. So looking ahead, do you see the economic competition between the U.S. and China playing out, especially with the trade tension heating up?
Well, there are always one or two countries that are on top. At the moment, the U.S. and China are those two countries. And so there's competition, and the competition is going to get worse. I mean, nobody's doing anything wrong. It's just that people compete, people want market share, and so they try to sell, and they cut prices if they have to. And that's what's happening with the Chinese and the Americans right now. And it may be a trade war. It looks like a trade war. But trade wars have never been good for anybody.
Can you predict what's happening going to be in the end?
Oh, in the end, we're going to have a bear market. It's going to be a very bad bear market. It's going to be the worst in my lifetime because the bull market has gone on so many years. The bull market has lasted the longest in my lifetime. So when the bear market comes, it's going to be the worst in my lifetime.
Okay. I don't like the term of what if, but if the U.S.-China tariff war gets worse and worse and getting worse, given tariff number to China from U.S. already 54%, right? Do you think it would happen to the stock market?
Well, we're going to have a very bad stock market in the U.S. and in much of the world because we had such a long bull market. The stock market in the U.S. was very good for a very long time, the longest in American history. So now we're going to have a very bad stock market for a long time. And that means Korea is going to have a bad stock market too for a long time.
I think you are being so doomed, right?
I'm not talking about doom. I'm talking about a bear market. I'm talking about a bad stock market. We've had bad stock markets every few years all over the world throughout history. That's the way the world works.
What about the Fed? With all these economic challenges, can the Fed future staff save the stock market?
Well, the Fed in America has never been very smart. Those people are bureaucrats and academics. They've never known what they were doing. And trying to hold up the stock market and keeping interest rates too low has never been the right thing to do. And they're making the same mistake they've made before.
Okay. Do you see any possibility that of the Trump's policies could turn into positive for the market? And if so, when do you think that might happen?
Well, is there a possibility? Of course there's possibility. There's possibility of anything happening. Mr. Trump thinks he knows what he's doing. And Mr. Trump's version of history is different from mine. In my view and my knowledge of American history, whenever you print money and whenever you try to prop things up, it's always been bad. And Mr. Trump thinks he's doing the right thing. I think he's doing the wrong thing.
Today you are talking about the bear market consistently. Is there any way to save the market by your opinion?
I guess the central bank could stop. I guess the central bank could cut interest rates and print more money. That would prop up the stock market for a while. Whenever you print money, it has to go somewhere. And if the central bank prints more money, it's going to go into the stock market. But eventually that leads to more inflation and more problems. I don't see anything that Washington's going to do that's going to help.
Thank you. And for South Korean investors looking at the U.S. stock market right now, what kind of advice would you give them with all this global uncertainty?
Well, I can only tell you what I'm doing. I told you I sold all of my shares in the U.S. I've sold all of my shares in most of the world. I'm worried that we're going to have a very serious bear market for the world for a while. And the world includes South Korea.
Can we take a peek at your current portfolio, especially with your market being so unpredictable this year?
Well, I am not optimistic about stock markets in the world. Most of stock markets have done very well for the last few weeks or months, even years. So I am pessimistic. China's maybe okay. I still own Chinese shares because they have not gone up like other markets. I'm buying shares in Uzbekistan. I own 5 or 6 shares in Uzbekistan. There are not many shares you can own. I own nearly everything in the country. It's a small market. And I own shares in China. I bought Chinese shares over the last few years, and I own all the big companies. If you know a lot about a market, invest. But don't listen to somebody on television. Don't listen to me or anybody else. Only invest in what you yourself know a lot about. Do not listen to other people. Do not listen to hot tips. Stay away from hot tips.
I just want to hear about hot tips from you right now.
My hot tip to you is do nothing unless you know a lot. My hot tip to you is I am doing nothing. I've sold all stock markets, most stock markets in the world except Uzbekistan and China. And if you can't find Uzbekistan on a map, please do not invest in Uzbekistan.
I know where it is.
Great. Well, I've invested in Uzbekistan, but you have to make your own decisions.
Why do you not considering India for investing a destination?
Because India is making all-time highs. I mean, the Indian stock market, I've invested in India many times in my life, but I sold too soon. I sold out of India, and India's been going up a lot, so I'm waiting. If it goes down a lot, I hope I'm smart enough to buy India again. There are good things happening in India now, so I hope I'm smart enough to buy it again if it goes down.
Okay. Do you think the rise in gold price will continue consider its role as a safe haven amid U.S. stock market volatility with S&P 500?
Well, I own gold and I own silver. I would not buy gold right now. I'm not selling gold, but I would buy silver. I mean, silver's down a lot from its all-time high, so I bought some silver this week, and I will probably buy more. Silver is still cheap on a historic basis. Gold is not.
Also, so do you think the cryptocurrency like Bitcoin can become long-term safe haven assets just like as digital gold?
Well, I have not bought or sold any Bitcoin. I don't see the reason for Bitcoin. I mean, if you want a trading vehicle, it has been and is a good trading vehicle. But I don't see any practical reason for Bitcoin, so I have never bought nor sold. I have not sold short Bitcoin, but I don't see any reason to buy Bitcoin.
The price of Bitcoin has been soaring up to 100K 1 month ago. What is your opinion on that?
Well, I mean, I wish I'd bought Bitcoin when it came out. Of course, we all do. I did not buy it, and I have not bought it, and I do not plan to buy Bitcoin. Now, that could change, of course, but at the moment I have never bought nor sold any Bitcoin, and I do not plan to.
Okay.
I don't see any reason for it. I see it's a trading vehicle, which is fine. If you're a trader and you like to trade, anything that's a good trading vehicle you should use. But I am not much of a trader.
All right. And under these circumstances, if you had to pick one between gold and Bitcoin and stock and bond, which one would you go for?
Silver.
Silver. Why silver?
I mean, silver is not gold. But silver's down. It's down 40 or 50% from its all-time high. Gold is making an all-time high. U.S. shares made all-time highs recently. I prefer to buy things that are depressed.
Mr. Rogers, what about Korea? What do you think is behind the ups and downs in Korean stock market lately? Maybe some global trend at play? And I just want to hear about opinion about Korea.
Well, good things have been happening in Korea in the past few years. At the moment, there seem to be some difficulties in Korea. So I would rather wait. If the Korean market goes down a lot, I hope I'm smart enough to do some homework. But I have no investments in South Korea now.
Okay. Then what do you think that is the biggest challenge facing the South Korean economy?
Well, I only know what I read in the press. The press tells me the biggest problem is politics in South Korea. You're the press. You're a journalist. You tell me. It's what I read. It's Korean politics is the main problem right now.
Okay. And do you believe the South Korea's manufacturing and tech industry can stay competitive down the road given the global trade tensions?
Can it? Can South Korea remain competitive? Yes. I mean, the South Koreans have a lot of smart people. They have cheap labor compared to some countries in the world. So, no, I think South Korea could be extremely profitable and prosperous if you open up again.
Okay. Mr. Rogers, under the current economic climate we've been talking about, it's very tough and harsh. Could you share your own unique investment approaches for this year with South Korean investors and our viewers, something they could take inspiration from?
Well, if you know what you're doing, invest. Yes, please invest. You'll be able to find the opportunities if you know what you're doing. But my main advice to everybody, South Korean and everybody, is don't invest unless you yourself know a lot about it. Do nothing. Do not listen to other people. Do not even listen to television people. Do nothing unless you yourself know a lot about what you're doing.
Okay.
The worst mistake that people make is they think it's easy, and they think it's easy to make money. It's not. Do nothing unless you yourself know a lot about what you're doing.
Yes, DYOR, do your own research. Is that what you want to say, right?
Very, very smart. Yes, do your own research and do your own homework.
Okay, finally, as we close out today's interview, what mindset or perspective do you think we should adopt when watching the markets right now? We'd like to end with some warm advice from you for our audience.
Well, I will repeat, most stock markets in the world have done well in the last few years. And that's wonderful if you've been part of the markets. But if you're not part of it and you don't know what's going on, please stay away. Stay away. Wait. Just wait. I told you, I'm investing only in 2 markets, Uzbekistan and China, because those markets have not been great booms like in the U.S. and other places. So my advice to everybody is just wait. There are always going to be opportunities, always, if you just wait and do your research. Well, let me just say again, please, Eugene, just please do not listen to other people. Only invest in what you yourself know a lot about, anywhere in the world, including South Korea. There are going to be great opportunities in Korea, but just wait, wait, wait.
I'm going to wait for you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, thank you. I'm a fan of South Korea now. But just wait. I am waiting.
감사합니다.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
우리는 지금 변화의 시기에 있습니다. 그동안 우리 경제를 지탱해오던 자동차, 반도체 같은 주력 산업이 더 이상 우리를 지켜주지 못할 수 있다는 생각을 하게 되는데요. 불확실성과 변동성 장세가 지속되는 지금 오늘 짐 로저스 회장의 답변에서 투자 전략의 기회를 찾으셨기를 바라겠습니다. 딜사이트 경제TV 기획 특집 짐 로저스의 경고, 세계 경제 폭풍 속 기회 여기서 모두 마치겠습니다. 시청해주신 여러분 고맙습니다.